Welcome to Perl Snacks, where in each snack video we cover a bite-sized piece of Perl, one that's easy to mentally digest. In today's video, we're going to cover some array operators like the push and pop operators, the shift and unshift operators. We're also going to cover the Foreach loop. We're going to cover Perl's favorite default variable, and we're going to start it all off with list assignments to arrays. So if you look here on the left-hand side in the white window, I have an array called letters that I've created, and I'm going to assign a list of values to that array. We can write a list in our Perl program by surrounding that list of values with parentheses and by surrounding each value in the list by a set of quotes and separating each value by a comma. So this list contains the letters A, B, and C, and if I print those values out by printing out this array, it will print out the following: A, B, and C. And by the way, this has been mentioned in a previous video, but when you put the full array name, which is preceded by an @ sign and the array name, between double quotes, that array will be interpolated between those double quotes. And what interpolation means is that every value in the array will be printed out, separated by a space, as you see here in the green window. When you assign a list to an array, the first element in the list will be at index 0, the second element at index 1, and the third at index 2, so on and so forth for as many elements as are in your list. You can save time typing when you create your list by using the quoted words operator, and here's what that looks like. It's a Q and a W. When you use this operator to create your list, you don't have to type in the quotes that surround your list items, and you don't have to type in the commas. The quoted words operator makes Perl interpret this list as if each item is surrounded by double quotes and separated from the other items by a comma. Let's run the program again. It should give us the same output, which it does. So that shows both how we can create a list of values, as well as how we can assign that list of values to an array. Let's cover a few operators. We can push values onto an array with the push operator. The push operator is followed by the array name, and that is followed by the list of values that you want to push onto the array. So now if I print this array out, let's see what happens. We now have the letter D, which we pushed onto the end of the array. The push operator works on the end of the array. It pushes a value onto the array after the array's last value. Let's push multiple values on there. And let's see what's going to happen here. There we go. The push operator can come in handy when you are taking in values from, say, a file, and you want to push those values onto the array. There's also an operator called the pop operator. Pop also works on the end of an array. It pops off a value and it returns that value. So if we have a variable, say called val, which is short for value, and we pop off a value from the letters array, and then we print that value, let's see what the value of val is. And if we print out the array after popping off that value, let's see what that looks like. You see, pop removes the value and returns that value as part of its operation. What if you want to work on the beginning of the array rather than at the end of the array? You can do that with the shift and unshift operators. The shift operator will shift a value off of the beginning of the array. After the shift, as you can see, the letter A has been shifted off of the beginning of the array. And if we capture the return value of shift into our val variable and then run the program again to see what value was captured into the val variable, we see that it's the letter A from the front of the array. Shift is similar to pop. It removes a value from the array and returns that value as its return value. And of course, the unshift operator is similar to the push operator, except that the unshift operator works at the beginning of the array. So we can unshift the letter A back onto the array. And when we do that, we should have that letter appear at the beginning of the array once again, which we do here. Now that we've put some lists and an array together, what if we want a way to conveniently process all of the elements in an array? Well, we're in luck. Perl gives us a very convenient way to do that. And the way that we can do that is with the Foreach control structure. I'm going to put one together here in the white window. And the way to put one together is first by using the Foreach keyword, followed by a control variable, let's call ours var, followed by a list that we'd like to process. We can use a list like this one, and we place that list between parentheses. We follow that list by a set of curly braces. Between the curly braces, we place the statements that we want to run each time through the loop. Let's print the value of our control variable, followed by a new line, each time through this loop. I'm going to comment out each of the print statements that are above this so that we can look at only the output of this for each loop. And let's see what happens here in the green window. It prints out each of the items, the elements in this list as we expected. And the way this works is each time through the loop, Foreach takes an element, places it in the control variable, and allows us to do whatever we want with that control variable. It progresses through the list one element at a time in order from the first element through the last element in the list. Now in a Foreach loop, we don't have to use a spelled out list as we've shown here. We could also use an array, which is a variable that contains a list. So if we replace that list with the letters array and run our program again, we get a listing of all of the items in the letters array. That's the Foreach loop, an extremely handy way to go through all the items in a list or an array. But wait, there's more. Perl gives us another convenience. What if we don't use a control variable? We don't have to, because the convenience Perl gives us is that if we don't use a control variable, Perl places the value each time through the loop in its favorite default variable. And Perl's favorite default variable is a $_ underscore. I'm going to follow that by a new line there and get rid of this one here. And as you'll see, when we run the program, printing out the $_ underscore, it gives us the same output. Each time through the Foreach loop, Perl places the element in its favorite default variable, since we have not given it a control variable, and we can then print that default variable out here. So we see that the default variable is the one that Perl places items into in a Foreach loop. The default variable, it turns out, is also the default for the print operator. So if we don't give print anything to print out, it will print the contents of Perl's favorite default variable. Let's put a new line here so that we have a new line but after each iteration. And let's print that out again. And you see Perl prints its favorite default variable, which contains the element that the Foreach loop has given it each time through the loop. Very convenient, very useful, and you'll find yourself using that default variable more and more as you get into Perl programming. That's it for today's Perl Snack. Click on the like if you enjoyed this. Leave questions and comments below. Until next time, this is Daryl Pace with Optimal Computer Solutions. Over and out.